and founding partner of Battle and Win LLP and the cousin of today's speaker. It says Robert Battle, but I'm gonna go with Bob Battle. How's that? With that, Bob, would you please come and introduce our esteemed speaker?
I'm proud to introduce my cousin Tommy today. Y'all probably know a lot about Tommy. He's been here to speak before and spoken to Rotary and Kiwanis together on at least one occasion. But just briefly, Tommy grew up here in Birmingham and graduated from the Old Berry High School, went to Alabama and got a business degree there. And he moved to Huntsville in 1980. And that was when I was up there at Jones Valley Elementary School in Huntsville. So I've known Tommy for a long time. He's been sort of like a big brother to me through the years. But I'm sure you've heard about all these tremendous things that have gone on in Huntsville. So I wanted to share a couple personal things about Tommy as well that you might not know. Tommy has served as essentially the mayor of the extended Battle family for a lot of years and has hosted family reunions in Huntsville for dozens of battles almost every year. He's a barbecue connoisseur, y'all may know, and he competed in barbecue competitions all around the Southeast for a number of years. I think he had to give that up as he got busier being a mayor, but he used to cook pork shoulders and chickens for all the family and got up about 5 in the morning and had all the young cousins get together and help him do it because they were up real early in the morning. He also introduced what was called the Nuts and Bolts Award at the family reunion. He would bring a stack of nuts and a stack of bolts to the reunion and let the battle kids go out and talk to the family members, some of the older ones, and decide who was a nut and who was a bolt. And then they would present the appropriate award as the day went on, and a little more on that in a moment. Tommy's first business venture in Huntsville was owning his own restaurant, Britling's Buffet. And he's always been a hard worker through the years, and he would have to get up at 5 in the morning and start everything up. And he even had a cot there where he'd sleep at night sometimes and not even get to go home. But some nights he wanted to leave about 9 o'clock, and so he would have me come and shut down the restaurant about once a week so he'd go out on a date or two every so often back in those days. And so as a thanks from Tommy, when I went off to college, he sent me my first care package. And it was a care package that he sent 4th class mail, and it took about a week to get there. And it was full of fried chicken and fried okra. And so anyway, after that arrived, the next family reunion, I decided that Tommy was going to get a nut award. All kidding aside, though, Tommy has been a bolt in our family, and he's been a bolt for the city of Huntsville. He's one that's always been trying to bring folks together and work with people together. He served on the city council for a number of years when I was in high school, and then he was elected mayor for the first time in 2008 over an incumbent who had been in office for a number of years. He was then reelected in 2012 and again in 2016 and most recently in 2020, where he received more than 80% of the vote, and he received he won all the precincts really throughout the city. So he's been a mayor for the entire city there in Huntsville. And since being elected mayor, you all know that he's worked with a lot of others collaboratively throughout the city in North Alabama to do some really great things for North Alabama. His efforts have helped spur more than $2.5 billion in economic investment in the North Alabama area, and he's helped create thousands of new jobs at businesses including GE Aviation, Polaris, and Toyota. He also played an integral role in critical infrastructure improvements in Huntsville, including $250 million in new school construction and $500 million in new road projects in the area as Huntsville has expanded and needed to improve on those things to greet all these families that are coming in with the new jobs. During that time, the city has also maintained a balanced budget since 2008 and has earned a AAA bond rating during all those years, even through some tough economic times. So Tommy, we're glad that you're here today to share all the good things that are going on in Huntsville, and I hope you will join me in welcoming Mayor Battle to the podium.
Told you never forget who comes up last, Bob. As I sit here and think about that, when Bob introduced Brooke, his wife, and said she was CEO of her own company, she's also CEO of the house. And we in the Battle family have a rule that we have to marry someone much more intelligent than us, and it keeps adding to the gene pool. As you add to the gene pool, you get smarter and smarter kids, and so our kids are really smart. Bob and I are lucky. We both married people who were much smarter than us, and they brought up the whole gene pool of what we had. But it's been amazing. I was coming down here and I was thinking about what has happened over the last 14 years. And it doesn't seem like 14 years to me. It seems like it was yesterday. I came into office in 2008 and came in during some tough economic times. It was November of 2008. Came into office and we were experiencing what the rest of the country was experiencing. We were experiencing a recession. We were experiencing some times when we were slowing down, and all of a sudden our revenues were shrinking, and it was a tough time for everybody. Whether you were in business or whether you were in government or whether you were running another city, our city and other cities all felt the pinch of that time when the economy slowed down. And we look at it today and we think, wow, could that happen again? I don't know. But we watch it, and it makes you very cautious, because it makes you cautious in the way that you spend your dollars when you have to put up a balanced budget each and every year. It makes you very cautious on how you spend your dollars, because you have to make sure that you're ready for things like happen in Jackson, Mississippi. You have to have some reserves in place. You have to have some money in place to be able to take on some of those. So, I kind of looked back and I started thinking about, what has happened in Huntsville over the last 14 years, and what would the largest Kiwanis club in the world want to know about that? And started thinking about the idea of, where we were 14 years ago. 14 years ago, we were in the midst of a recession. We're looking at, we were the fourth biggest city in the state of Alabama. And we just at that census that came in 2010, we were 180,000 people. Today, we look at where we are today. We were 220,000 in the 2020 census, and we're probably 225,000 right now. So we're still growing, and we're growing by about 4,000, 5,000 people a year. And as we grow, we're able to. We're growing an economy, but we're also growing opportunity. And opportunity is what is so important about what a city can do. Opportunity for young people, opportunity for those who maybe are in the lower end working group and they want to move up to a better job. Opportunity, I think, is what we can say as a city that we want to be able to make sure that we provide year after year after year. If you look at where we are today. We had two ribbon cuttings and one groundbreaking yesterday. We had a federal courthouse, we had an apartment complex ribbon cutting, and then we had another ribbon cutting on a mental health facility, medical facility that was just coming up. And as we look at that, that's kind of a norm of our life. We have 2 or 3 events each week which kind of celebrate the successes that we've been fortunate enough to have in our area. How do you make sure that you can grow? And that's always a question I ask our group. We have every morning, we have 8:30, we have a department head meeting, have different department heads in each morning, Monday through Friday, and we sit down, we have something like 20, 25 different department heads, and so we'll have 5 on one day, 5 on another, 5 on another. And then we have our permanent department heads in there, our finance director, our city administrator, our urban development person. And we sit there and we talk about each morning, and then each morning we talk about what do we have to do to make sure that we can grow? What do we have to do to make sure that we're going to continue this growth that we've already had and we can continue to offer opportunity? Because when we start looking at it, that's our job. That's what our job is as a city, is to offer opportunity to young people, to people coming in. When about 5 months ago, I was touring the Mazda Toyota plant. We've just built one of the top 10 economic projects in the United States was the Mazda Toyota plant. We're going to produce 300,000 cars, 330,000 cars per year. Out of that, we're going to have one line that runs Mazda, one line that runs Toyota. Both of them great cars that they're turning out. And as we're doing that, we started putting together the plans back in 2017. I'll never forget sitting down at a restaurant in 2017 out in Providence, and we're sitting there talking, and we have a group come in who are looking where they're going to locate their plant. They're looking at sites all over the U.S. and saying, where are we going to locate this plant? Where's the best place to come? Out of looking at over 100 sites across the U.S., they ended up settling on Huntsville, Alabama. And when they came in, and they came in the very first day, we were talking to them, they said, okay, we need 700 acres. And 700 acres will be able to build our plant. And so we said, that's great. We have 1,200 acres we can give you. Well, as the plans went on, as the conversations went on, we needed not 700, but 1,100 acres. That's great. We still have 1,200 acres. Then we went from 1,100 acres to 2,400 acres, and it was an ever expanding pie. And we were able to put it together. We cobbled it together, and we worked with the landowners out in the area, and we're able to cobble it together so that we could end up providing opportunity for people in our area. As I said, 6 months ago, I was in there. I was touring it right before we opened up and opened up to start production. And I was sitting there, and there was a little team of 5 team members were sitting there, standing there together. And I came up to them, and as we were walking around the plant, and I asked them, said, what are y'all doing? And they said, well, we're working on our processes. And I said, so you're working on your processes. What do you do in your processes? Well, I said, we're looking to save 2 steps. And I said, 2 steps? What does 2 steps mean? Said we do this process time and time and time again during our shift. We'll do it 1,000 times during our shift. And if I can save 2 steps on every process, then I'll save 2,000 steps, and I'll be that much more efficient. I'll be that much quicker. We'll be able to get more product off the line, and we'll be able to make things work. And I'm sitting there looking at these 5 young people, 19 to 24. And there's 2 are black, 1 Hispanic, 2 white, 3 females, 2 males. And I'm sitting there and talking to them. I said, well, what were y'all doing like 3 months ago? And they said, 3 months ago, one of them was working at I Love Sushi. Another one was working at another restaurant. Another one was working in landscape. Another one was just coming out of high school. And the 5th one was unemployed. And you looked at them, and right there they showed the pride, and they showed the pride of having a job and the pride of being able to do something very special to save 2 steps every process and save 2,000 steps every shift. And you looked at those young people, and they were sitting there, and they were so proud of what they were able to do. And you thought about where they were 3 months ago. And right at that moment it hit me, that's why we do all this. That's why we do economic development. That's why we go out and we buy sewer systems so that they can have infrastructure for the future. That's why we go out and we option land for future development. And that's why we put city money into something like that and government money into something like that, so that we can offer opportunity, not only to those 5 young people, but we can offer opportunity to everybody across the board. So we started talking about that opportunity, and that opportunity for them was being able to maybe start a family one day. They had a good job. It was going to pay them $40,000 to $60,000 a year. It was going to give them benefits, and they'd never had that before in their life. And they were sitting there, and they were talking about the ideas of what they could do, how they could raise a family, how they could put a roof over their head, put food on the table, how they could, maybe they could get a really nice car now, and they could have a car, maybe a Toyota Corolla that they could ride around. But they were talking about all the things that were coming. And it was an amazing conversation to have about opportunity and what the future gives. That's why we got into the economic development business. That's why I became mayor, so that we could offer opportunity to young people, we could offer opportunity to others, maybe not even young people, to those who are stuck in some of those entry-level jobs, and that they could get a better job. And if we could offer that kind of opportunity, there are benefits that come back to your society. One of the biggest benefits that came back to us as we were doing that was we always had this area of town. It was a lower socioeconomic area. And for years and years and years, ever since I was on council in 1984, they were talking about we don't have. We don't have this. We're not part of the economic development progress that we have in Huntsville. We're not part of the success of what happens in Huntsville. We don't have jobs. We don't have this, that, and the other, and it really kind of tears a community apart, because you all of a sudden you're talking about we had great upper end jobs, engineers, rocket scientists, people who worked at Redstone Arsenal, worked for FBI, or worked or worked for NASA. We had great upper end jobs, and we had lots of lower end jobs, entry level jobs that were entry level, and they paid anywhere from minimum wage up to $15 an hour, $14 an hour, but they weren't enough to really make a really good living at. And we had those, but we just didn't have that middle section. So 14 years ago, when I became mayor, we started working. We said, we need to fill out that middle section. We need to fill out that middle income section and bring in those middle income jobs. So we started working, and we started bringing in infrastructure. Infrastructure was just key to it, because you had to have infrastructure. We learned that when we competed with Chattanooga on the Volkswagen plant. And the Volkswagen plant, Chattanooga, had a TVA certified site. Sorry, TVA, but had a certified site that was plug and play, had everything in place, had all the utilities in place, sewer, water, electricity, everything else was in place, and they could set up there and go right to work. We had a site that they looked at and said, well, what about this? Can you get us enough electrical? Yeah, we can do it, but it's going to take 6 months to build. Can you get us sewer? Yes, we can do it, but it's going to take us another 3 months to build that. Can you make sure that we have gas connections and dual gas connections? And we said, yes, we can do that. But we really weren't ready. We weren't ready for success. And so we came back around, and we started, out of that lesson that we learned, we did an after action, and we said, we need to be ready next time. So we started getting ready. We started getting ready on the Sewell property, which ended up being the Mazda Toyota property. And we started working looking to fill up that middle income gap that we needed. And we started looking at advanced manufacturing, because that was where the game was played at that point. And so we started working on advanced manufacturing. First one came in was Remington. Remington lasted about 5 years and then sputtered out, but out of Remington came Cabela's. The president of Cabela's used to be the president of Remington, so he was watching them move to Huntsville, and he moved and put a store in Huntsville, and that gave us a sales tax base to be able to do some things that we really needed to do. Right after that came Polaris, because Polaris was a customer of Cabela's. And Polaris came in, 2,000 jobs, $130 million worth of investment. Right after that came GE Aviation, $300 million worth of investment, 600 jobs. Right after that came Aerojet Rocketdyne. And Aerojet Rocketdyne came in with their rocket shop where they produced rockets and they manufactured rockets, and they invested about $200 million into our area. Blue Origin came in after that. And then after that, the big prize was Mazda Toyota. Mazda Toyota came in, 4,000 jobs, 2,400 more jobs coming in from the suppliers, 16 suppliers who locate around them. So 6,400 jobs in the area that came into the area, and 6,400 middle income jobs. Now, after all that happened, and we started building the plants and we started bringing them in, the hue and cry of the area got to be, before it was bring us jobs, bring us jobs, bring us jobs. Now the hue and cry is bring us workers, bring us workers, bring us workers. Workforce development is the most important thing that we have, because we've got to bring people into our area to be part of our area, to fill the jobs that we've already brought into the area. Great problem to have. One of the problems I love having is being able to say, we have jobs for you if you want to come to Huntsville, Alabama. And as we started saying that and we started doing it, we said, we've got to make sure that we have a reason for them to want to be part of our community. How can we make sure that they want to be part of Huntsville? You know, one of the things you always recognize when you bring in jobs and you bring in people is that they're going to work 8 to 10 hours a day, but they still got 4 or 5 or 6 hours before they go to sleep that they want to do something else. And they're looking for something else that makes them part of the community, that makes them want to be part of our community. What attracts people? And that was one of the things we were sitting down saying, what attracts people? First, you got to have safety. Public safety is key and tantamount. If you don't have that, people won't move to your area. Secondly, you've got to have something for them to do. You've got to have something that makes them want to come into your area. Education is key. The education system, everybody will look at your education system. They look at it before they move a plan into your area. They look at it before the FBI ended up moving into Huntsville, before we got the call that we were number one on the Space Command list. They looked at your education system and said, do you have a good education system that will be able to educate the young people who are being brought here with their parents, and maybe they'll be able to be part of your workforce for the future. So you've got to have education. Then you got to have some other things, and there's some things, I call them the fun things. You know, AA baseball, our neighboring community to the east of us, to the west of us. Madison brought in AA baseball and brought in a new AA baseball team. That gave us the capacity to be able to build the Orion Amphitheater. We built the Orion Amphitheater, and the Orion Amphitheater, I got my tickets for Stevie Nicks on Halloween night, and I'm going to go listen to Stevie Nicks play. But then you've got to have things, you've got to have other things that will attract people. You've got to have restaurants, you've got to have an active downtown. You've got to have an area where people can come and think they're a part of something just really neat. It's amazing how much craft breweries attract people. And we have more craft breweries per capita than anywhere else in the state of Alabama. And craft breweries do attract people. They attract many people. You give an engineer a little bit of time off, he's either going to become a craft brewer, he's going to, one of them distills whiskey, others find lots of other little things to do, and those engineers always are finding something to do. But when you look at it, you've got to build a quality of life, you've got to build an infrastructure, you've got to have education, and you've got to have the ability to attract people and let people know about your community. You have to be able to communicate it. We've been working with John's company, Big, for a while, and working with some other companies to make sure that we communicate out what we do, that we have jobs, that this is a place to come to get jobs. This is a place of opportunity. You know, I don't think anything hit me stronger than the story of my son. When he went off to college, he went through finance, came out, he was going to be a banker, and went to management banking school. And after he got out, finished with management banking school, he got out and he said, Dad, I said, son, are you going to come back to Huntsville? He said, oh, no, Dad, I'm going to go to the big city. And I said, the big city? He said, yeah, I've got to go to the big city. So he got him a house over in Crestline that he rented with about 4 other boys, and they came to the big city. Went to a couple other cities which he would consider the big cities. And about 6 years later, he called and he said, Dad, you know, y'all have grown some in Huntsville. And I said, yeah, we've grown a little bit. And he says, you know, because of your growth, you have a new bank starting up. And one of my friend's dads is one of the lead people in that new bank, and he's going to be president of the bank. And he's called and wants to know if I would come and run their Jones Valley branch. And he said, you know what, I think I'm coming home. Now, any of y'all who are grandparents, parents, or anything, when your children finally say, I'm coming home, and they're not going to live in your house, it is one of the greatest moments that you can have in your life. He came home and he did a great job. He found a nice wife, and he produced 2 grandchildren for me, so I have 2 grandsons now. So, you know, life is good. But the whole idea behind the thing of I'm coming home is that you have been able to produce opportunity in your community, and opportunity is tantamount. You are producing opportunity. They see the opportunity. They come and they're part of it. And it's not just for our sons and our daughters or our nieces or nephews and everybody else. It's for everybody. It's for those 5 kids who were sitting out there working at the Mazda Toyota plant. Those 5 kids who didn't have a lot before they came to Mazda Toyota and got on the line and became a team member out there. It's for the people like my son, but it's for everybody. And so what we see that we're able to do, and we're able to do right in Huntsville, is to continue to add that opportunity. Whether it's going to be in the cyber world, whether it's going to be in directed energy, whether it's going to be in hypersonics, whether it's going to be in more advanced manufacturing. Today we are working on those next set of jobs. We want to fill those that we already have and fill those well, and we're getting to the point where I think that we're just about over the hump for the workforce development side. And now we're working on the next generation. What's the next generation of jobs? What do we want to do now so that we're ready in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? What do we want to put in place so that we're taken care of? A lot of people talk about recession. And we were talking about recession just a little bit earlier, about the recession and what the interest rate hikes were going to do, and et cetera, et cetera. And you know, we've kind of come down to a position where we've said, if there's a recession, we choose not to participate in it because we don't have to. We have brought enough jobs into the area. We brought enough economy. We're going to be just fine. We're going to have the jobs in the economy of the future, and if a recession comes, we'll go to those other cities who have not prepared and have not prepared well, and we will recruit. We'll recruit their best and brightest, and we'll bring their best and brightest to our area. And we will put them to work in our area, and those who are the best and brightest, they're the job multipliers. They're the young people who come in and they discover a new way to make a widget, and they put together a company and have to have employees to do it, and they add to your employment, they add to your economy, they add to your base. It's been a great thing. Over the past 14 years, we've been able to do that in our city. And we look forward to doing it in the future. We look forward to doing it for the next 20 years because we've been able to grab hold of that opportunity that is out there. We've been able to plan. We've been able to have a strategy and a plan that helped us to continue to grow. And we will continue to grow. But I want to say to each of y'all, thank you for having me here. Thank you for asking me to speak, because it's nice to be able to tell a story, especially when it's a good story. But it's also nice to be able to talk to others who are in that same boat. Y'all are in the same boat. You got Birmingham. You got more opportunity out there than you can shake a stick at. You have more companies out there who are growing and growing fast, and you have more entrepreneurship than any place I see. And y'all have the chance to do the same thing, to offer that opportunity, to young people, to offer that opportunity to the new workforce and to bring that new workforce. We won't be coming to Birmingham to hire people to come to our area because y'all have enough work here, but we might be going somewhere else in Alabama to hire some people. But I want to say to each of you, thank you for the work that y'all do, because it's not just making Huntsville grow and making Huntsville grow and North Alabama grow in that area. We've got to make the whole state grow. If we don't do that, then we have not lived up to what we are supposed to do. And if we make the whole state grow, then everybody gets a piece of pie. Everybody's part of the prosperity. Everybody is part of what we want to see in the future. We do that, then we have a community that pulls together, works together, and works for the betterment of our community, for our state. Thank you so much for having me out, and I'll leave it open for questions.